Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope all of you can hear me, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma arhamna marashid umurina wa izna min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. We welcome all of you to this webinar organized by Ummah on the topic of Sharia compliance in e-commerce. So, just to give a brief background about Ummah. So Ummah is a Sharia-based service provider in terms of it could be an individual or a business or a consultant or corporate. They provide financial consultancy and financial training, compliance audit, dispute resolution, financial product structuring, and even in the space of zakat, awqaf, last will, inheritance, and mashallah, they cover pretty much a very comprehensive set of services within the muamalat whole umbrella. So alhamdulillah, so today inshallah we will also look into a very important aspect of our muamalat, our transaction, which is e-commerce. So we will inshallah break this whole presentation into main two sections. One would be the Sharia compliance part, and the other one would be the e-commerce. So initially, inshallah, we will give a brief overview of the e-commerce, which will cover what is e-commerce, of course, and then the evolution very briefly, and what is the potential of e-commerce in Sri Lanka. And we'll slightly discuss a little bit about different business models within the e-commerce. And then what are the latest trends in the e-commerce space. And then inshallah, we'll completely focus on the Sharia aspect or Sharia guidelines that has provided when it comes to e-commerce or online transactions, right? Think about the last time you had a online transaction, right? So it could be maybe you were ordering something online to purchase something, right? Or it could be you were waiting for for a ride and you used Pick.me or Uber to book an application, or perhaps you made a transfer which a person which a dear friend of you needed urgently, right? So, or it could be on the providing end, right? So you could be a online store, or you are selling things online through WhatsApp, Facebook or Instagram, or even TikTok, right? So in essence, if you look at our life today, even the very presence of this presentation, right? So we are in a way doing within the sphere of e-commerce. So this is a online service provider, Zoom, right? So e-commerce is something has become part and parcel of our life. So when it comes to this e-commerce, it is crucial. It is important that we understand what Islam has given us the basic fundamental guidelines when it comes to the e-commerce space. So what is e-commerce? In very simple terms, e-commerce is buying and selling goods and services through the internet, right? So it could be, just like I said, it could be through your mobile phone, it could be through a website, right? And any means that involves the internet, right? And very briefly, if you look at the evolution in early 1960s to 1980s, that is when the initial foundation was laid for the important aspect of the current e-commerce structure. For example, if you look at EDI or electronic data interchange, think about it just like a online messenger or digital messenger, right? So instead of you communicating back and forth with your customer through mobile, through email and mobile phones or communication, other means of communications, EDI enables to effectively communicate between your suppliers, your end buyers, and all the stakeholders involved within your e-commerce business, right? And if some might remember, that was the time where teleshopping, which was not a a real e-commerce per se, but people started purchasing things through they would provide TV advertisement, and they would purchase transaction through calling their customers, right? So that was the early precursor. And then came the wide availability of internet in early 90s, right? And then in 1994, Amazon was founded by Jeff Bezos as a online bookstore. And the following year, eBay was founded as a online auction store. And that decade saw the boom of internet companies. So that is where we see the dot-com bubble, right? People started investing a lot on internet-based companies. And then they realized, just like, nowadays, right, we see a huge hype around AI, artificial intelligence, and previously it was through, in blockchain and so on, cryptocurrencies, right? So just like that, at that time, it was the internet. It was the advent of internet. And then eventually the bubble has to burst, right? So in late mid 20 to 2000s, it came to a burst. And the next decade saw a behavioral shift in the consumers, especially because that was the time when smartphone becomes more readily available. Means more people started using smartphones a lot, right? So in 2000s, we saw in mid 2000 we saw Facebook. 2004, in 2005 we saw YouTube coming in, right? And 2006 Twitter, and so on. All these social media giants were born. And then with that, the use of mobile or smartphones became more prevalent. So hence the term mobile commerce, right, m-commerce, became a very prominent thing. And then we see the current hype around AI, right? So now, if you look at the current era of e-commerce, the trend is mostly omnichannel, which means the e-commerce providers try to provide multiple experience, or the great same experience through all their platforms. When it comes to online stores, or it could be their physical brick and mortar stores, right? So if, for example, let's say someone purchased something online, they have the option to go and return it through their physical store, right? So this kind of experience they give, promotion through their smartphones, their apps, and then through website, and all kind of user experience. And also we have the AI driven commerce, right? Which means they utilize a lot of data, the big data, right? And then based on these, they provide more customer, they understand the customer behaviors, and they try to make it more efficient. If you look at the Sri Lankan space of the growth of e-commerce, right? You see it was kind of a steady growth, and especially you see a high in the COVID time, during the COVID period, right? Which became a blessing in disguise, in a way, right? So we remember, we were trying to purchase things through online mostly, because of course we were kind of forced to do that, and that became a kind of a boost, especially for e-commerce, right? And then in early, the Kapruka had the early mover advantage in early 2000, 2002, 2003, I think, right? And then Daraz came in 2016 or 14, and then it became purchasing things online became something very normal, right? So every household would purchase, and that excitement, right? When you receive an item, when you purchase, that kind of excitement was building. And then it is projected in by 2029, the Sri Lankan e-commerce would grow up to 4 trillion, the revenue. And even this year, in the first quarter, it has estimated the transaction volume around 85 billion. And in an internal survey done by Daraz, they found out that the active users have increased by 1.5 times, and the number of orders have increased 2.5 times, right? So which means it has almost more than triple, close to triple, right? So this all indicates that the growing interest and usage of e-commerce. Right. And so this is just the breakdown of different sectors in terms of how e-commerce or online transactions are more used in different sectors. So why we should really worry about or think about e-commerce, right? I'm selling something in my physical store, or I'm selling in let's say I have a physical store which is doing well, right? So why should I really bother about e-commerce or having online presence, right? So obviously one thing is it reduces cost, right? So let's say you have already established a business which is doing great, well, mashallah, that's great. But if you want to expand to other regions, this could be another added arm, right? So it can reduce your operational cost, right? So you don't have to pay rental, to pay all the maintenance costs that involves having a physical store. You can have an online presence which gives you accessibility across the country, right? And it also is data driven. So when you are online, you are able to capture so many data points, right? So at what part of the day more customers are coming in and clicking my website, these products are being clicked by which gender, this product is being demanded in which region, which specific region. So all these data points are pinpoint accurately captured through the data-driven softwares, right? So also you have the scalability, just like we mentioned in the first point. If you want to expand not only locally but even beyond, right? So you have the ability to sell, bibs from Sri Lanka in the US. So it's no joke, right? So one of my friends, another friend of mine, he was selling just bibs through Amazon, and he was making almost close to $20,000 per month, right? So obviously it's not like kind of an overnight thing, but he has been doing it for quite long, and it's of course a process. It has its own challenges, but definitely it has its own benefits as well. And of course, you don't have to bother about opening hours, right? When it comes to e-commerce, it is 24/7, right? So you could be sleeping and still making sales, right? People would be accessing at their convenient at any time, any part of the time, part of the day, and it could be even midnight. They would purchase, they would place their sales, and in the morning you will be able to deliver, right? Okay, so let's briefly look at the different business models. So B2C or business to consumers is just like a business is selling to individual in exact sense, right? So for example, let's say you are purchasing a very high-end shoe, that your favorite shoe from Alibaba, AliExpress, right? Or from Daraz, or from any platform that you could purchase your personal things, right, for your own consumption. So this kind of if a platform is providing this kind of service, it is known as a B2C model, right? So it could be the Amazon, or it could be AliExpress, or it could be Taraz or Kapruka or anything. These are B2C models, and we also have B2B model, or business to business, right? In the word explanation itself, businesses are selling for businesses, right? So it is mostly they don't sell in one or two quantities. It is mostly wholesale, right? Let's say for example Alibaba, right? You can't purchase like one shoe, one pair of shoe, or one phone cover. No, it's not possible. But in AliExpress, it is possible, right? But in Alibaba, I mean, when it comes to B2B, it is mostly in big quantity, and you also get the benefit of price negotiation. And also you have consumer to consumer, which means like individual, just like us, anyone who can sell to another person. Just like we have IKMA, right? So you have a used phone, you want to sell it off and buy a new one. So you place your phone in the IKMA, and then someone else's who is interested, he would purchase it, right? And also we have consumer to business, right? So here it is opposite of B2C, which is business to consumer. Here now the consumers are providing services for businesses. So this is especially if you think about freelancers, right? So let's say you are good at web designing, or you are you are providing some sort of services, especially. And platforms like Upwork and different other platforms provide where you can provide your services through them. And also we have other models like business to governments, where businesses can place their contracts in those websites. And we also have government to business, where government enables business to have their tax and license stuff sorted out. And we also have government to citizens, right, for our immigration and then also our identity stuff, right? So these are just generally speaking different business models. And in the Sri Lankan context, we have the domestic players. Of course, there is many more, but these are some of the prominent ones. And if you look at international, we have Daraz, AliExpress, the other players as well. Right? Okay. Another important thing to ponder maybe is why someone who is selling online in his own store should consider selling in a more established platform. Let's say someone is selling through WhatsApp or Instagram or something, right? So or having a physical store even. Why would they should consider selling in a more established one, like Amazon, Daraz, or Kapruka, or anything, right? So it has its own pros and cons, right? And some of the benefits is these established platforms already has its own complete ecosystem, which means you don't have to worry about fulfillment, meaning you don't have to worry about packaging and then delivering it from end to end, right? And then you don't have to worry about payments, right? And you don't have to worry about customer service, right? And so on. So the whole ecosystem is covered by them, right? Of course, it doesn't come free of charge, and you have to pay a considerate amount. But in terms of having the whole ecosystem built and then doing it all by ourselves will limit our scale a bit, right? Especially. So if someone is planning to scale, this could be one of the options they could consider. And of course, after a thorough study of pros and cons. And this is just to give you an idea. There is something called halal B2C, right? So if you look at Amazing, which is kind of a combination of Ummah, Amazing, which is based on UK. So this is also a completely Muslim-friendly or halal e-commerce platform. Okay, so these are all the products they sell. There is no non-Sharia compliant products that they sell. For example, also Ikhlas based in Malaysia. So these in this platform, you won't be able to list or sell any product that does not fall within the Sharia compliance. Okay, and you also have halal B2B markets, where these both are based in Malaysia, and you are able to sell business to business, of course, not in single quantities, in bulk, right? In retail, wholesale. Yeah. So this is finally some of the most trending things in e-commerce, right? So just like we mentioned earlier, we have m-commerce, which stands for mobile commerce. So mobile commerce is anything that you do with the mobile. It could be online banking, using the dialogue app, right, to make reloads or anything, right? Or it could be any website that you have the mobile version of it, right? So people are more accessible, since the usage of smartphones are high, right? And we also have social commerce, right? This is also something really trendy, right? People sell through through platforms like Facebook, Instagram, even WhatsApp, TikTok, right? All these platforms are well known, right? And we also have quick commerce, which focuses mainly on delivering goods, especially fast, right? So in UAE we have Talabat. In North America we have DoorDash. In Sri Lanka, I think we have Pick Me Flash, right? So this focus on how fast something can an item could be delivered, right? And this is also something really trending in different regions. And we also have live commerce. So live commerce is something that you live stream and sell, right? So you sometimes these influencers, especially these influencers, right? And then even the product owners do this nowadays, right? So they live stream their product and they describe and the benefit and all these things, and they give the option to buy within their platform itself. They have inbuilt features nowadays, right? And another reason one that is trending also is voice commerce, right? So we have Alexa, and we have different other players coming in where they use voice assistance just by commanding, just by asking the AI to purchase the item for you, right? Right. Okay, so let's move to the Sharia guidelines in the e-commerce. Generally speaking, it is all transactions are permissible unless there is any specific thing that is prohibited in Sharia, right? So why Sharia have these all these rules and regulation and guidelines is mainly to to have a justice between the buyer and the seller, right? And to prevent, especially to prevent both parties from any harm, right? So that's why we have all these mashallah Sharia guidelines in very very detailed, right? In very in all in small details for very specific issues. Why? Especially to prevent from any harm. And of course, within the permissible boundary, we have to avoid usury, which is interest. And Alhamdulillah, Ummah have done a very comprehensive session on the topic of interest. And also we have uncertainty, which is more of an excessive uncertainty, right? So, for example, someone shows a second floor of a building and says, "I am selling one of these houses to you." So he's not specifying. There is a lot of uncertainty here, right? Oh, gambling, right? So gambling is also something that should be avoided, which means that you are entering into something that which has no chance of playing, or you either win or lose, right? Sounds familiar, like you pay some money and you have to pick up some toy. Either you get the toy or lose the toy, right? So, but still you have to pay kind of a entrance fees, right? And then also you have other specifically the products that are halal, those things we have to take care as well. Yeah. So now let's come to the when it comes to transactions, what are the things that we have to look into, right? When it comes to especially the e-commerce context, right? The offer and acceptance, right? So offer means you offer to sell something, and there will be an acceptance. So he is ready, another party is ready to purchase something, right? So we have to understand at what point exactly the offer and the acceptance takes place. So generally speaking, it can take place through speech, right? So you say verbally, "I am selling this. Are you ready to buy? Do you want to buy?" And he says, "Okay, yeah, let me buy. I'll buy." So there is a speech. Or it could be in writing, right? Someone messages in WhatsApp or something, right? He wants to has the intention to purchase, and then you agree. Or it could be an action, right? So there is no word spoken. We are walking through a counter in Food City or Cargills or anything. So we are not saying, "I'm going to buy this biscuit." The cashier is not going to, "Okay, I'm selling this to you." No, right? There's no speech. You are just the action itself implies that you are purchasing and the other person is selling. And then when it comes to e-commerce context, right? So it can take primarily it can take in two different forms. One is through teleconference, right? Let's say, for example, you jump into a Zoom meeting or a call with a person who is selling a product or service, and you look at the demo, or you confirm all the details, and then the offer and the acceptance takes place. Or it could be, let's say there is no real-time interaction. It is a website, just like Amazon, Daraz, or any website. You go to the website and log in, and you go through the website and you click in to your cart, and then finally you exit from the cart through confirm payment, right? So these are the two main primary ways. Okay, so is this when a person displays, for example, in a website, right? If a product is displayed in this way, is this an offer? Okay, so this is we have something we have to understand, and why it is important to understand, is it an offer or not, right? So what are the consequences, right? So this is not an offer. Okay? So at this point, it is a invitation to treat, which means that it is still, the price is still subject to change, right? At this point, right? So someone cannot say, okay, I saw this price, now you have to sell me anyway, right? So for example, you walk into a supermarket and you saw the price as for 200, and you come and say, ask from the counter, the counter says 250. Now you can't say, no, I saw it there 200. So because at that point, when it is in the shelf, it is an invitation to treat. It is not an offer and acceptance, right? But once the offer and acceptance is concluded, you cannot change the price, right? So let's say, for example, you purchase the item, or for example, you go to a website and you have clicked confirm payment, and from there you have got the confirmation payment, right? So now the transaction is concluded, and in that scenario, the price cannot be negotiated. The price cannot be changed unless there is mutual consent, right? And so on. Okay, so the other important aspect is the buyer and the seller, the two parties, right? When it comes to buyer and the seller, there are two things that is important to consider in terms of Sharia. One is there should be mutual consent. There cannot be any fraud or coercion, right? There cannot be any forceful transaction. You can't say you have to buy this, right? You can't force anyone, right? There should be mutual consent when it comes to any transaction, right? The other thing is you have to be legal. You should have legal capacity, which means that you cannot be a minor or a mentally disabled person, that you cannot enter into a transaction, right? So how do we make sure in the online context or in the e-commerce these two criteria are met, right? So when it comes to mutual consent, that's where we have e-signatures, right? When it comes to contracts, right? When it comes to website confirmations, we have buttons such as accept, confirm, right? And these things implies that one person have given the offer, the other person by accepting or confirming, accept the transaction, right? And also, how do you make sure it is a authentic transaction, right? So that's why we have two-factor authentications, right? Different kind of SSL application or session keys and so on, just to make sure that okay, there is a real person and that is the right person who wants to transact in terms of security, right? And the other one is legal capacity, right? How do we make sure this is a person who can transact in terms of Sharia context, right? So in that for that, when a business is doing KYB or KYC, knowing your customer, in this onboarding session, when they are logging into a website or anything, they will usually ask for details, right? And even after that, to further strengthen that, they will also confirm that through payment methodologies, right? So when we are entering our debit card details or any other payment details, it has its our details encrypted in it. So through that, this will confirm that this is a person with the legal capacity to transact, right? Okay. So this is just an example to show that when a person is confirming, right? How do they confirm the mutual consent, right? So when a person is purchasing an item, let's say a person have purchased an item, and the seller have received the purchase, and now he is requesting payment, and by the buyer confirming the payment, the buyer is also mutually consent, right? So there is this parallel offer and acceptance. The mutual consent is happening at the same time, right? So by this, the transaction is becoming a valid transaction from the Sharia point of view. Okay, yeah. So this is also another very important topic or a area when it comes to online transactions, right? So Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam uh, asked, right? So a man came to Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Hakim radiallahu anhu is reporting, right? A man came to me and wanted me to sell him something which is not in my possession. Should I buy it from him from the market? So this is something Hakim radiallahu anhu asked from Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam replied, "Do not sell what you do not possess. Do not sell what you do not possess." So remember this is a very important thing when it comes to not only our online dealings, even our offline commercial dealings, right? So we in Sharia we are not allowed to sell something before taking possession, which means before we own the item, we cannot sell it to another person, right? So owning a item, which means what? You have access to that item, right? You have control over the item. You are bearing the risk, right? So if the item is to be destroyed, you are liable, right? You will bear the loss. That is the meaning of possession, right? So if you have received possession, that which means you are completely bearing the risk and the liabilities, right? But when it comes to possession, there are two types of possession. One is actual possession, which we all understand, right? The physical possession, right? The other type is constructive possession. Okay? So when it comes to constructive possession, we do not get physical direct possession of the item, but we get constructive possession of the item. So let me explain to you through an example, right? For example, let's say someone is shipping some electric items from China, right? So once the supply have shipped, right? So he will issue the bill of lading, right? So bill of lading is something that has all the specification of the item, right? Bill of lading is also indicates the ownership of the item. So whoever has the bill of lading will be able to clear the items, right? So once, let's say, the bill of lading is issued, and if the importer receives the bill of lading, he have taken possession of the item. So this is not a direct physical possession, but this is a constructive possession, right? So which means that if anything happens to the item during the shipment, he will be liable, right? So this complete the risk and the liabilities are transferred. The ownership is completely transferred to the person, right? Or think about another example. You have purchased a car, but you haven't gone to the you haven't received the vehicle in terms of physically, but you have received the documents of it, right? So once a person receives the documents, right, he have a constructive possession of the item of the vehicle, right? So which means he has access to the vehicle anytime, right? So he will be able to get he should be able to get. Okay. So why possession is important, right? One is it minimizes gharar. Gharar means excessive uncertainty, right? So for example, let's say someone is uh, selling an item before he have even received possession. Okay, this will create a lot of uncertainty, right? So, for example, someone have purchased some material, and before he have received the item to him, he have already sold the item to another person, right? So he have the other person who have purchased the item, right? The ultimate buyer, he is in a big uncertainty whether he is going to receive it or not. There is a lot of uncertainty, right? And it also creates room to of for debt trading, right? So, for example, let's if someone is selling an item before he have received, let's say he purchased some computers or laptops, right? Before he received possession, if he have sold it to another person, he have sold something that he have not received, which means he does not have. So he's essentially selling a debt to another person before he have received the possession. If he's selling, right, he is selling the debt and to another person, right? Which means that if anything happens, he is liable. He has to, set off that. Okay. Another important area of the when it comes to online transaction, right? The subject matter. Subject matter means the item that we are selling itself, or it could be a product or a service, right? But when it comes to, generally speaking, when it comes to the item that we are selling, the general guidelines of Sharia is it has to be lawful, right? It has to be permissible within the Sharia guidelines, okay? And it has to be something valuable, right? So you can't sell something that has no use at all to someone, right? And then it has the item that we are selling has to be in existence at that time, right? So unless it goes through a special contract like a salam or istisna, it has to be in the existence when at the time of selling. And the item that we are selling should be able to be delivered, right? So you can't sell something that is under a kind of some kind of a dispute. Let's say some kind of legal dispute is going on, so you are selling that house to another person, right? So sometimes you won't be able to deliver the house to that person, right? So the item that we are selling has to be deliverable, and it has to be precisely determined. So you can't just randomly pick, or let's say in the example that we gave, you can't just direct at a complete flow and say I'm going to sell one of these houses, right? It has to be a precisely pinpoint. And in terms of e-commerce, how can we make this more Sharia compliant? Is one is to give clear descriptions. The more, the better, right? The more description, the more detail you give to the customer, it takes away any ambiguity in the product, right? So if I know something that is okay, this is exactly this specification, I am very sure that okay, this is what I'm supposed to get, right? And one of the ways to do this is to give a pictorial displays, which means not only pictures but also you give text, right? So you give descriptions, just not putting up some picture and saying I'm selling this, but give some more details. What is the engine type, what is how long it has been used, and so on. And also all the cost has to be defined, right? So you can't have a so-called hidden cost, right? So if there's any other cost involved, you have to clarify who will be bearing the cost and so on. And again, it has to be deliverable. Just like you said, it has to be specified. Okay, if it's going to be estimated delivery time is this within this range, it has to be mentioned clearly. Okay, so this is just an example to illustrate that how we should avoid doing any description, right? Just like showing a picture and giving the price wouldn't work, right? So rather a better way is to give a little bit more clarity, right? So give more details as possible, and let's say if the delivery is not possible within a certain region, we also have to specify, right? So that the client knows very well. Okay. So when it comes to payments, right? So generally speaking, there are multiple payment methods that is used when it comes to e-commerce space. We have debit cards, and we also have digital cash. So cryptocurrencies can be considered as one of these digital cash. And we also have digital wallets like Apple Pay, Amazon Pay, and we also have gift cards, right? Some platforms provide gift cards. These are also similar to cash, right? So there is no Sharia issues in using these things, and we also have other payment providers like PayPal and so on, which uses a peer-to-peer payments, payment basis. Okay, so we are almost towards the end. And in essence, right? So what we are trying to say here is e-commerce is of course permissible in Islam if right, if it follows follows Sharia principle. So just think, just to give you a kind of a food for thought, right? So there are some practices where they just download pictures from could be eBay or some other websites, and they put the pictures in other websites, right? So I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of these practices, and they sell the item on the other platform, and uh, they once the order is received, only they order on the other platform, right? So is this practice allowed, right? So this is something you should we should ponder upon, right? Based on our discussion, right? So think about it, right? And or go through the materials, right? So this will kind of give a space to think on, to revisit all the other things that we discussed, inshallah. And all the transactions has to be free from prohibited elements, right? Just like we mentioned, the key prohibited elements, interest, right? Gharar, excessive uncertainty, gambling, and all the other prohibited elements. Right? It has to be free from that. And when it comes to the whole ecosystem, starting from offer, payment to delivery, so the whole ecosystem has to align with the Sharia law, Sharia guidance, right? So the best thing to do is, in whatever it could be, online or offline or any transactions that we do, it is best thing to do a audit in our complete muamalat, right? So because this is a very crucial thing, right? Muamalat is a very crucial thing, because something that we sometimes you might be assuming that this is halal, mashallah, right? We have been earning this way for a so very long period of time, and then the aspect of barakah will be eliminated. Not only barakah, right? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, someone will be in the disheveled way, and he will be asking dua, Ya Allah, provide me and so on. He will be asking Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, but his food and his drink and whatever he's attired is haram, right? So we have to make sure that all our transactions are within the Sharia guidelines. This is a very important aspect of our the complete life, right? So Alhamdulillah, these there are so many things that we have not covered, right? So just to give a disclaimer on that, right? So this whatever we talk today is only based on the commodity products, right? So we did not even touch so many other things that has its own Sharia rulings, especially when it comes to currency trading, right? It has its own ruling which we have to make sure that it aligns, right? When we are engaging in that, since it's a ribawi item, okay? And when it comes to gold and silver, right, we have to make sure how we have to know the ilm of how we should buy and sell those things, especially online, right? And we also have financing or investment platforms such as P2P and crowdfunding, and in so many other platforms nowadays. So what are the permissible ways of doing that, right? And when it comes to e-commerce, we have some factorings, which means that they buy invoices at a discount. Is it permissible, right? Just to give you about that very briefly, is since they are purchasing at a discount, it makes it makes it Sharia non-compliant. Getting funding through those factoring, right? So we had to be careful about that as well. And we also have payment methods, right? Especially a very big area and a very growing and a very trending area is cryptocurrencies, right? What are the permissible areas? What are the things that we have to look into, those kind of things, right? And we also have buy now pay later and so many other things that are coming in within this muamalah space, right? So this is a very huge vast area. So alhamdulillah, we have ummat, mashallah, providing and covering all this aspect, most of this, mashallah, and from financial consultancy to financial training, compliance, dispute, and product structuring. If you are planning, if you have some great ideas, right, you want to start a business, come to Ummat and provide your ideas and see how you can structure it within a Sharia compliant way. And if you have any documents, right, when it comes to your business, you want to review, mashallah, you can consult them. And you have zakat, inheritance, awqaf, last will, a very important area, right? So these are the things, and especially investment. It is a very huge thing, huge area. There are so many passive investment, active investments. What is whitelisting, and so many other things that within this whole space. So I hope, inshallah, we have briefly covered within the time space. And jazakallahu khair. Assalamu alaikum.